Hello, my name is Marty and I welcome you to my Matchbox makeover channel. Today I'm going to show you my makeover of a Matchbox number 14c Bedford ambulance. These first came out in 1962, which is the year I was born. So this is my model that I picked up for a couple of bucks from a local market. As you can see, it looks like it's had quite a bit of play. There's a lot of paint chips all over the body. There should be two stickers on the sides and they're missing. The rear double doors are missing. And the actual bed area in the back of the ambulance is broken. So I'll have to try and fix that up. First up, as usual, I shall be drilling out this rivet to pull it apart. Here you can see I've modified my vise with some self-adhesive draft excluder. It just helps to prevent damaging the model when it's put into the vise. First up, I use a 1.5mm diameter drill to drill into the centre of the rivet post. This is going to be tapped with the screw thread later to facilitate the refitting of the base. I now use a soft bristled paintbrush to wipe away the swarf and iron filings. I used to use my fingers but would quite often get metal splinters in them, which were quite uncomfortable. Next I'm using a 4.5mm drill to take off the head of the rivet. This way the base will detach from the body. Well, that was easy. Now I take out the interior. Now it's time to cut the thread in the rivet post. I use a tiny drop of lubricant to help the cutting process. Be careful not to fill the hole up with oil. If you do, when you test fit the screw, you may run the risk of splitting the rivet post due to hydraulic pressure building up inside as you screw the screw in. That's the thread cut. Now it's time to test fit the screw. In this instance I erred on the side of caution and didn't drill the hole deep enough. So off camera I repeated the process so that the head of the screw sits flush with the base plate when it's refitted. Here I am doing a test fit of some reproduction rear doors that I bought online. As seems to be normal with some reproduction parts I've bought in the past, the quality is not the best. So I'm going to sand them down with some very fine emery paper to try to make them look a little bit cleaner. The doors are held in place by two hinge pins, one at the top that goes into these small holes and one at the bottom that goes into a recess in the base. I'm now going to strip the paint. As usual, it is important to wear the appropriate safety gear. Here you can see I am ready to use paint stripping chemicals. Firstly, I apply the paint stripper using a paintbrush. You can see that the paint stripper is already reacting with the paint. Next, using my wife's toothbrush, I remove the softened paint from the model. I will give this a second going over and then it will be ready to undercoat. This is what the model looks like after it's been paint stripped. I've temporarily superglued a screw on the inside of the body so I can hold it with the crocodile clip. Here's a quick comparison view of the rear doors before and after sanding with emery paper. Okay, here is the model that has been undercoated. Now is a good time to inspect it for any imperfections prior to painting. I've given the base a quick coat of gloss black. I'll be sorting it out later. And here are the sanded rear doors with their first undercoat. Here's a scrap of paint I recovered from the paint stripping bath. I'm using it as comparison to make up a matching paint. Having matched the paint, it's time to start spraying. Here you can see me removing the needle from my paint gun. This means that I will get full flow of the paint. Sometimes it's necessary if I haven't diluted the paint enough with thinners for spraying. I'm spraying this model an antique looking off-white colour. I am using water-based acrylic paint. That hasn't turned out too bad and is quite glossy to look at. I'm happy with that. Now I give the rear doors a quick top coat of the same colour. Here one of the doors is accidentally flipped over by the pressure from the air gun, but thankfully I was able to recover from it. Now it's time for me to address the damage on the interior of the vehicle. I have an idea that I can repair this hole using a piece of plastic card as a backing piece and then filling the top with some plastic body filler. If I give it a quick sand and maybe a top coat of paint, it should look okay. I'm using a piece of plastic that was left over from a Tamiya Panzer IV model that I made earlier in the year. I've just got to cut it to size and glue it in with some plastic cement and then cover it over with some plastic putty. This piece does not need to be accurately cut, as it is going on the back of the seat and will be ultimately covered with the plastic filler. I'm going to put some new craft knife blades on my shopping list after I've finished this video. Here I'm test fitting the backing plate. I've got the width right, I just need to make it shorter. And then I will glue it into place. Here I'm just making minor adjustments to the dimension using some 2000 grit emery paper on a block of wood. So I'm happy with that and I'm going to glue it into place. After the poly glue is set, I'm going to reinforce the join using my baking soda and super glue mix. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you should check out some of my other restoration videos. So this is the basic foundation for the repair. Now I've got to put a small step at the bottom, and then I shall be working with the putty. I'm going to glue this in, and when it's set I'm going to give it a quick file and shape it to match the original interior. This is a close-up of the super glue and baking soda reinforced section. Now I'm quickly going to smarten up the base using this paint marker pen to colour in the axles and the hubcaps silver. This can be quite fiddly and it's a bit of a cheat, but the results speak for themselves. Now that my plastic repair parts have set, I'm using plastic putty to fill in the gaps and finish it off. After a little bit of tweaking using a file and some emery paper, the reconstructed interior looks pretty good. I give it a quick undercoat. Followed by a top coat of matching interior colour. It's now time to reassemble the model. First in goes the interior. Click that in, nice, looks good from the back too. I'm happy with that. Next, the fiddly bit, we've got to put the doors in. There's a few outtakes here, not included in the video. Goes very fiddly, the doors kept falling out. I'd get one in, then the other one would fall out before I could get the base on. Anyway, this is about the 6th attempt. You can see I'm just balancing everything there. Try to get the base in to hold the doors, and oh no. Nearly but not quite, give it another shot. And done. Phew, that was a chore. Now simply put in the screw to hold it all in before it all falls out again. Nice look to the base too. Here's a quick function test of the rear doors. They seem to work okay. I notice there's a bit of a scratch on the rear door there. I will have to touch that up before the final reveal. Not happy, Jan. Now finally it is time to apply the reproduction decals that I ordered online. I actually really like the authentic look of these. They are slightly discoloured and will look just like the originals if this model was 50 years old. They are water slide transfers, so they have to be immersed in water to release the transfer from the backing paper. I put a bit of moisture onto the vehicle to give me some extra time to accurately position the transfer when it releases from the backing paper. Look at that, spot on first time. Not. I probably shouldn't be using metal tweezers to tease the transfer into position, as I could tear it, but at that moment obviously I was not thinking too clearly. Thankfully I got there in the end, and the transfers actually ended up looking pretty damn good. What I'm doing here is giving them a final roll over with a cotton bud to squeegee out any excess moisture or air bubbles that may be present. You don't want to risk wiping with the cotton bud at this stage because you might tear the transfer. They are very fragile, so rolling is the way to go. Because this transfer is sitting over a seam on the body, I'm using some transfer setting liquid to help it conform to the shape of the body. I'm now going to use some silver ink out of this marker pen to hand paint the details on the front grille. This paintbrush is excellent for this work, and for those of you that live in Australia, I bought it from Spotlight. Some of these original models came out with painted bumper bars, headlights and grills. Today I'm just doing the grille and the headlights. Oh, and also the door handles, just for something different. So here's a brief reminder of what the model looked like before I got my little mitts on it. The arse end was particularly bad. So here's some shots of the finished model before the grand reveal. I'm loving that grille. Now here's a 360 of the finished model. I hope you like what you see. After all that work, I think it's time I had a lie down. At this point, I would like to thank my family and friends for their continuing support regarding my YouTube channel. In particular my wife Julie, who has provided me with unwavering encouragement despite her ongoing dental health issues. See you next time on Marty's Matchbox Makeovers.